James Jones.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, big dog.
Let's talk.
Why should we believe in the Cowboys? They dominated again, but they dominated week 1 last year, 40-0 versus the Giants. New year. Why should we believe in the Cowboys?
We shouldn't. We shouldn't. And y'all know how I feel about Coach Mike, man. I played 8 years for Coach Mike. I love Coach Mike. But at the same time, this is what the Cowboys show in the regular season. They played better last year in week 1, as you just stated. 7 sacks, 3 takeaways, 0 points, only allowed 171 yards. We was talking high on the Dallas Cowboys last year. The only thing that matters for the Dallas Cowboys is the playoffs. And any Dallas Cowboy topic we have on here, that is going to be my answer. Whether they lose, whether they win, whether Dak Prescott plays well, we know in the regular season Dak Prescott plays at a very, very high level. Micah Parsons plays at a very, very high level. The defense plays at a very high level. In the postseason is all that matters for the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones and Trayvon Diggs. That's all that matters. Make sure you are healthy. Make sure you are playing good football, get in the playoffs, and then play this type of defense. And then play this kind of game.
A little bit? You don't believe in them?
I was believing last year. And the year before that.
The Browns are a much better team.
And the year before that, because they had 12, 12, 12. They got to deliver
Giants?
in the postseason, man.
Well, you at 2-5, man. Why
go?
Why should we believe in the Cowboys?
go. What are we believing in? Right? I believe in them to be good in the regular season. That's what they do. You know, they beat up on the average teams, right? The non-playoff teams, right? Let's talk about it for a second. So you just said that. They go 12 wins every season, right?
12,
Get to the playoffs. Y'all, not us, but y'all know what they do in the playoffs. They lose. If I trust in my $6 million quarterback, do we trust in him? Let's think about this. So in 8 years, he's won 2 playoff games. Are you asking me, do I believe in that? Or do I believe in the Cowboys who last year, all the losing teams, they were 8-1. All the playoff winning record teams, they were 4-4. So what are we asking me? What I believe in? Which team? Who? What player? Like, I believe in Michael Parsons, but as a whole, I do not believe in the Cowboys. They do the same thing every year. Beat on the bad teams, lose to the good teams.
I'm glad.
Go to the playoffs, and they lose to the playoffs.
I'm glad you said one name, because what I believe in and why I believe in the Cowboys this year more than any is because I believe this will be Micah Parsons' championship leap. Micah Parsons, the one who I believe has more juice.
He's really nice.
We know what we know about Dak. Mike Zimmer was the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings for maybe a half decade. He was the head coach for a long time there. You played for the Packers for a long time, so you've seen that double-A gap mug scheme. You've seen Mike Zimmer's defense. Do you believe that Mike Zimmer and his defense can help get the Cowboys over the edge?
I do think it will definitely help get the Cowboys over the hump, and that's why he's there, because he coached against Coach Mike for so long, and he used to give us and Aaron Rodgers a lot of problems. I just remember preparing for him, and when we were preparing for the Minnesota Vikings and Mike Zimmer, Aaron Rodgers would have us have his eyes on him during the meeting. Because when we get in the football game, I don't want you to take your eyes off me. So if we're in the meeting, I want you to have your eyes on me if I give you a signal, because that's how it's going to happen in the game. He's bringing so many exotic blitzes and pressures. They showing they got mugged and they dropping out of there. It's so chaotic. You have to be on the same page. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns was not on the same page. He should have signaled into something else. It's tough going against Zimmer's defense because it's a lot of communication for the offense, and that's why you get a lot of free rushers, and that's why you get a lot of miscommunication by the offense.
Shady, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
I was going to ask real quick. You think Zimmer's better than Quinn as a D coordinator?
Scheme-wise, yes.
I mean, just overall defenses, right? Like, who has a better defense?
I think that's a really good question. It's a hard question to answer. I've been getting infuriated when I see people online being like, Zimmer's such a better DC than Dan Quinn.
I was getting there.
I'm like, whoa, everybody calm down. Dan Quinn, he created to some degree that whole Legion of Boom, was the architect for that. Dan Quinn has a defensive coaching tree. When you think about Robert Saleh, when you think about Gus Bradley, DC for the Colts, Robert Saleh, head coach for the Jets, Dan Quinn has a defensive coaching tree in and of himself. But Dan Quinn does have a simplistic scheme which can be elevated
cover
by
3,
players.
cover 4.
Whereas Mike Zimmer's scheme
they play it well, bro.
Yes,
they
do. They do. Dan Quinn has a simplistic scheme that's incredibly elevated by players. I do think it's a good question, and I think it's very dismissive when people are like, oh, Zimmer's just better than Quinn. It's different.
And the reason I asked that question because it's like for some reason now, right, with a Cowboy team that's less talented than it was before, when it was really, really good with 9 All-Pros, it's not as talented. And they're acting like, oh, now they get over the hump because they got a really good defensive coordinator. And I'm sitting there like, am I tripping? Because Dan Quinn, since I've been playing ball, right? I don't know, but since I've been playing ball, he's been really, really good. When I would go against him, we're gonna have it's gonna be a battle because he's a really good defensive coordinator.
Let's not forget the Dallas Cowboys lost in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers, who put an absolute whooping on them. The game plan for that game was not great. You want to talk about getting over the hump? Okay, Dak actually, threw 2 picks that game, pick 6. I get it, or almost pick 6. At the end of the day, though, if you have a more aggressive scheme, I don't necessarily know Jordan Love could have done what he did against that scheme, because in that scheme, in that playoff game, that's what it was. It was cover 3, it was cover 4, and they diced it up. Matt LaFleur, the head coach for the Packers, diced them up. I'm just saying it puts a lot more stress on different offensive coordinators and quarterbacks to game plan.
But this what I will say, though, because I know everybody want to get excited because the defense looks different, right? Now, Zimmer's defense is different, right? A little bit more chaotic, right? Quinn's defense is this is what we're going to do because we got the players to do it. See if you could beat us, right? But Zimmer ain't been to no Super Bowls or none of that with his Super Bowl.
I'm about to get there too.
Like Cowboys, actually. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Zimmer was the defensive mind in 94, 95.
And he wasn't running this.
Man. Still going, man. Michael Jordan retired for the second time back there. Come on, what we talking about?
I just want to make sure we're correct. Zimmer was the defensive coordinator for a Cowboys Super Bowl team in the early 90s. I guess my thought is this, though. He was on the staff. He wasn't the DC. Here's my thought, Shady, because I think Shady's correct in this.
Come on, man.
We know who Dak is. The Cowboys aren't going to get over the hump in my mind because Dak will get significantly better. I do think Micah can get significantly better, which sounds crazy. But Micah's sack high is 14. T.J. Watt was 15 through his first 4 years. J.J. Watt, 22 and a half. Justin Houston, 22. Alden Smith, 19. Von Miller, 18 and a half. I think where the Cowboys can take the next step, it's got to be Micah. We've gotten all the juice out of the squeeze of Dak Prescott. We know how good Dak is. But Micah, if he can go from 14 sacks to 21 sacks, if he can do what Von Miller did in the Super Bowl year versus Cam Newton, what Aaron Donald did in the Super Bowl year versus the Bengals, to me, it's a Micah Parsons thing. Shady, you hit the nail on the head. I know what Dak is and who Dak is. I know what the offensive line is. I know what the running back room is. CeeDee Lamb is dependent upon Dak Prescott, so I know who CeeDee Lamb is. But it's Micah, for me, can have 4 sacks in the playoffs, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. That, to me, is where they can make
I hear that, but if he's doing all that, and Micah is that good, because he can do that. You know where he's from. From Harrisburg. It's got to be Dak, though. Because even if you don't have good things on defense, what about when you throwing almost pick 6s? What about you throwing these different picks? What about that happens? Because it did happen against Green Bay.
But I don't think it can be Dak. I know who Dak is
now. Not if there's new money, right? That's when people get them girls get the BBLs, that's a new body. So when you get that new contract, you a new man. Now you getting $60 million a year? Nah, I don't need that old Dak. I need that new Dak. And that's what we need to see. There don't be no Micah. Micah's gonna ball out. He's gonna do his thing. We need Dak Prescott to be a top 5 quarterback, man. Top 3 and win that division and get to a playoffs, get to a championship.
So they got to be better with that new body?
Bruh. If you see her before and she look different, that's a new body. You got that $6 million contract? That's a new Dak.
Is she the same person?
No.
So she different after the BBL.
Different look, different attitude. I need that to be a different quarterback. Right? You got second place MVP last year. I need you to get number 1 MVP.
I don't know.
Come on.
I didn't know.
We in the facility. We really are.
We really are.
We really are
Right now.